Brought to you by SodaStream.
Hi everyone, Pierrick from P2design. Welcome to this new interview video where I was receiving Wayne Dixon. Wayne is a professional animator and instructor at CGcookie. We will discuss about his career path, his experience as a comedian, and a whole lot about animation as usual. Let's get started. This tutorial is sponsored by myself. If you want to learn all my rigging technique or if you want to create stylized character from scratch, you will find all you need on my Gumroad page. Use the code P2design and get 10% on whatever product you want. Hello Wayne, how are you doing?
Pretty good, yeah.
Okay.
Hello from Australia.
Okay, hi from France. So we have found a little time frame to do this interview, so I'm super happy to have you. Can you rapidly introduce yourself for the people that doesn't know you?
My name is Wayne Dixon. I am an animator and I've been using Blender for a very long time. My main jobs with Blender is I am the animation instructor and the rigging instructor at CGcookie.com. Hopefully people have heard of that one. But outside of that, I work for myself under the title Moonstring Animation, which is basically just a website. It's just me. I'm just a one person dude, but I just do freelancing for a lot of studios. And the most of the work that I'm quite proud of would be for Fuzz Studios, and they've done a lot of kids videos for YouTube, and they get billions of views. Like I'm not kidding. Like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, 1.5 billion views. So yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. So where are you from? You told us that you were in Australia, that's right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm in Newcastle at the moment, but I grew up in Melbourne, which is near the bottom of Australia. And then I moved to Sydney for work and things. For the past nearly 15 years, I've been in Sydney, and I've just moved to Newcastle with my family for a better life. So my son, who's nearly 2, can grow up with a house with a backyard, because in Sydney everything's quite expensive. So yeah, we just moved here for a better life near the beach and everything.
Yeah, cool. A bit of countryside stuff to be like in a softer environment for your kid, right?
Well, it's slower than Sydney, and people are a lot friendlier up here. Like, we got a Christmas tree. I went to pick it up and it wouldn't fit in my car. And then the guy goes, "Oh, no worries, where do you live? I'll just drop it over your house when I finish work." Now, that happens in Newcastle, but in Sydney, that would not happen. They would be like, you owe me more money for not being able to pick up your Christmas tree, and then they'd swear at you. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good reason, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So just to warm up, we will go through fast random questions,
Yeah.
Just like that. So what's your favorite color?
My favorite color is probably orange. Yeah, I think orange.
Okay, cool. Are you more cat or dogs?
Pets. I'd say more dog, but I'm not a pet person. We never had a pet when we were growing up. Although I did have a fish, but then my brother's fish ate my fish. So I've never been a pet person. I'm not,
Okay.
yeah.
So we'll go for the fish, because they don't need that
cat,
much
dog,
attention.
Fish.
Yeah, okay, cool. What's your favorite band or musical artist?
My favorite band would be Elbow from the UK. I've loved them for a very long time, and I've seen them a couple of times too. At the Opera House was a good gig to see them at. Yeah, Elbow, check them out.
Okay, cool. What's your favorite movie of all time? That's a hard one.
I used to work at a video shop, and so people would ask me this. Well, people don't know what a video shop is anymore because you just download them. But there used to, in the olden days, there was a shop that you went into and you would get the video off the shelf and you would take it home and put it in your machine to watch it. But people would ask me this question all the time. And my answer was, I don't really have a favorite movie, but I've got like maybe 3 or 4 that are my favorites at that time. And sometimes like a new movie will come in and just whatever's at the top of your mind. So I love animation. as you know, as I know, as of course as I know, what an idiot. So probably my favorite animations would be Kung Fu Panda, either 1 or Kung Fu Panda 2, because they're both so beautiful. And I just can't pick. So some days, if you ask me that question, it'll be Kung Fu Panda 2 because of the peacock. The other days, it'll just be Kung Fu Panda. And the other one, probably in my top 3, would be Paranorman from Leica, the stop motion film. Because stop motion, I always wrote stop motion off as, it's animation. And just those little movement jerkiness was something that it took me away from it. Like it's for some people, they really like that. And they're like, oh, wow, you can see the imperfections in it. And I see that. But when I saw Paranorman, the animation was so spot on and so brilliant. And knowing a little bit about animation at the time, because it was a while ago and I was a student, knowing that they do it straight ahead and they've only got one shot at it, you're like, how do these stop motion guys do it? So yeah, learning about animation, my respect for stop motion went up there. So I think Leica do the best stop mo in the world.
Yeah. With Kobu and Paranorman, they really push the bar super high. And in Paranorman, the FXs, the lighting, the quality of the puppets is incredible. I love this movie. Yeah. I love the design and the light. It's awesome, but a bit scary, I guess. Some part for the kids might be a bit hardcore. Okay, that's cool. Your favorite moment of the day?
My favorite moment of the day, probably waking up by my own accord, rather than having my son, who has slept through the night 5 times in his life, and he's nearly 2 years old. Oh. He does not sleep in, although for those 5 times. So my favorite moment of the day is those rare moments when I wake up before he does, screaming at me.
Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that.
You said earlier, you're like, oh, you look like less tired today, and that's because he kind of slept in a little bit today. He got up at 7 rather than 5:30.
Okay, I really hope that in this new year he will start to make his night, as we say, and so you can make yours too.
And I hope I don't wake him up, because it's like he's sleeping on the other side of the wall that's just here, and but my wife will take care of it if he starts screaming.
Okay, cool. I won't be screaming. So do you have any? So that's a hard one too. Any favorite animator or an animator that was the most influential to you?
I don't have any favorite one animator, because when you see a film, like it's a big collaboration now. Yeah. Like everyone does little moments. So there's a lot of brilliant animators who make a film, and so yeah, I don't really have a favorite animator, but I respect a lot of animators. In the 2D world, I think probably James Baxter, Glenn Keane, and I think they do stand on their own, like, if you know what I mean. Like when you do the 3D stuff, like everyone's working in a big team. It's the same with the 2D, but those guys stand out as good examples.
Your favorite drink?
My favorite drink, soda water, and I forgot to carbonate it before we started, so I'm just going to have to pretend to go.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
Brought to you by SodaStream.
Okay.
Actually,
cool.
Does that mean that you'll get like royalties or something now?
Yeah. I'm negotiating right now.
All right, cool.
I do the interview and I show them the video, and then I get a paycheck.
All right.
And we'll discuss about the share a little later.
Okay.
Off camera. Okay, cool. Your favorite food?
Pasta.
Any brand?
Or pizza. No. Pizza.
Okay.
Like, whose favorite food is not pizza? Yeah, pizza. I'm going to say pizza.
Okay, cool. Are you more Euler or Quaternions?
I am Euler for... I prefer Euler for most things, but if things have to move on 3 axes, Quaternion. So, yeah. I'm both. Fish.
And your favorite t-shirt?
My favorite T-shirt. I have. No, I'm not wearing it. I normally wear T-shirts all the time, but I put on a shirt for this interview, and then I get to the interview, and you're wearing a hoodie, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah, but it's branded, you know.
Oh, you got your own brand. Yeah, same. Yeah, same. I've got a T-shirt that has a bear on it, and half of the bear has an image kind of superimposed in it, and it's got trees on the bottom half. It just looks cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah. You'll have to send me a picture of the T-shirt so that we can feature it in the
sure.
video. Cool. Let's get started with your professional path in a way, your career. So, how did you get into animation, and what was your very first job? Did you study animation at school, or?
No, I didn't study animation at school. I was self-taught. Actually, when I was at university, I was at university for music. I did a music degree. Okay. But then I actually started comedy and doing performance halfway through that. And I was like, oh, wow, this is lots of fun. So that is where I kind of started. I started doing performance, stand-up, acting, and those types of things. And I had a lot of free time. And with that free time, I was just messing about on the internet, and I found this. Actually, I didn't find Blender. I found a program called Animator, and the 8 had a little 8 in it. And it's another open source software, which you can still download or whatever. But I found it, and I was like, oh wow, this is great. I can start learning animation, and I just did. I just started learning things. But that program was only developed by one person, and whereas Blender was developed by many more people. So a couple of months went by, and then I did some more research for like tutorials and stuff, and I found that Blender had suddenly got heaps more things, like heaps more video. Actually, they weren't video tutorials back then; they were actually written tutorials that you would download. Actually, one guy was doing video tutorials called Greybeard, and any of the really old Blender people who are watching will know Greybeard's videos, because he was doing video tutorials, and like he was so grumpy. He was like, oh, and then you grab these things and you drag the verts out here, like it was a pain for him to have to do it, and it was just really funny. But you had to. It was so long ago that I actually was still up on dial-up internet, so the cap, it would just take like, I had to download it overnight because it was like 200 megabytes or something like that. So I had to download these things overnight. So anyway, that's where I started learning online just by myself. And then I kind of hit a ceiling with what I could learn online and with books and stuff like that. And I did get some professional work in about 2007 or something like that. But I went to school in 2010, and I was like, wow, I took animation seriously. And that's kind of when I consider myself to be a professional, because the first jobs that I got were, I think it was about 2007. And the first thing that I did was just logos and things for friends. Like people are like, oh, hey, I'm doing this thing. And you just take a text and you extrude it. And then, oh, there you go. There's there's $50. Woohoo. Then the next thing was my brother was doing a presentation for his work, and he wanted some character to introduce him. And so I designed the character. I modeled it, because I started out as a generalist, which I'm definitely not a generalist now. There's so much that I've forgotten. I just specialize in animation and rigging these days. So I modeled, I designed, modeled, animated, did the voiceover for this thing, all for this PowerPoint presentation that he was giving to people at his work. But they loved it. They were like, man, this is great. And then some other people in the company were like, oh, hey, can you do one for me? Can you do one for me? So that's kind of how I started my professional work. But if you look at it, you go, oh my God, this is so bad, like that, because I didn't know anything about animation. I was just really eager to do it.
Yeah, but that's how we all have started, I guess. You start somewhere, you're just excited about the project, and you just try. That's cool. So you have been a comedian and a stand-up artist for a while. I don't know if you're still doing this. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I started stand-up in 1999, and I would say that I retired from it in 2015. So yeah, I did about 15 or so years of it. But I think everything that I've done in my life has added to what you do in art. So stand-up teaches you a lot of things. It teaches you how to deliver a line, the reactions, and you get instant feedback from the audience. It teaches you mic technique and all these other things, facial expressions, and like timing. Timing is a huge one for animation. And then I kind of fell into acting because I never wanted to be an actor, and I actually don't consider myself to be an actor. I'm a commercial actor, so that means I'm in a lot of TV commercials. So I think I've been in over 50 TV commercials in my career, and I only started doing acting because when I was a comedian at university, I was poor, and some comedian friends of mine were like, oh, hey, I've got an agent and we do extra work. And that is, in the background of like TV shows and stuff. And so they're like, oh, they're looking for people. Do you want to sign up? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I spent a while in the background of Neighbours, like just messing about with my friends, having a good time, just being a meat puppet prop. And that's where I learned a little bit how the set works and how it all happens. It's being on set is really boring. Like you think it's exciting, but it's not. It's really, really boring. But then I started getting sent to some auditions and things, some proper stuff for TV commercials, and then I started getting them, and then I still get a couple every year. Although with COVID, it's definitely ramped down, and that's also now that I've moved out of Sydney into Newcastle. I might not get a lot more work in that area, but that's okay. Like I think I've learned what I have needed from that part of my life, and I can move on to the next thing, which is hopefully more animation.
Okay, cool. So you think that all this acting experience really kind of improved your animation skills, or this is something that really helped?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because when you're animating and you're trying to embody the character, you got to try and think what they're doing at that specific moment, and that's what acting is. Actually, animation is acting. It's just slow motion, and you're just doing it through a digital puppet. That's all you're doing. So it is acting, and so yeah, I think a lot of it came from natural ability. Is probably, it sounds like I've got tickets on myself, but I think I found a lot of it common sense. You're like, oh yeah, you can just imagine that you're someone else rather than like I'll tell you the story of when the first big TV commercial that I got, and I still didn't consider myself to be an actor. I was a comedian who did improv. So this is another thing that is actually really good for animation, is learning how to improvise. It's like whose line is it anyway? When you're just making it up as you go along. That is really, really helpful for animation. But I did this audition for this TV commercial. I was a caveman, right? Trying to start a fire. I can't start a fire, and I'm listening to my rock, and I throw it over my shoulder, and I'm like, right? I got the part. And the reason I got the part is because the director was like, oh, that thing when you listen to the rock to go, what's wrong with the rock? And you threw it. He goes, that's why I put it. And they actually wrote that in the storyboards and stuff like that, which is, you're like, oh, I guess I wrote that ad. I'm a writing ad.
You need credit about it.
It was a really big ad. Like they put a lot of money into it, and we filmed outside of, I was living in Melbourne at that time, like in the countryside in Melbourne, in this barn, which happened to be a cave set, because they had it for some weird reason just in the middle of a farm. There was a cave inside a barn, and we had like rehearsals beforehand. And the other actress, she was a proper actress. She's like, oh yeah, no, I'm trying to embody this part, and I in the past I did like 2 weeks of training of caveman school where we all acted like cavemen and stuff like that. And she's saying, I'm the director of this and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, what about you? And I'm like, oh, I'm not even an actor. I just pretended to be a caveman. And she was like, oh. So that was back when I didn't consider myself to be an actor. I do now because I've learned a lot more about it. But yeah, that's
cool. So I have a bit of a silly question. Do you think your acting role in the TV commercial for lastminute.com helped you animating horses?
Right. Is this the part where you...
Well, we showed the ad.
Right. So that ad, they didn't write the ending. I got the part and they loved it. And they're like, it's going to be like the ending is a gag. It's like a sex scene, but not a sex scene. And they're like, oh, you're going to be dressed up like a gimp or something like that, something crazy. We haven't figured it out. And then on the day, they're like, you are wearing Lederhosens, you've got a horse suit, and your wife is whipping you. And you're like, all right, well, do I get more money? And they're like, yes, you can have more money. And you're like, right, well, let's do that. So did it help me animate horses? No, it didn't.
So, okay, because you were saying that when you embody a character, it might help you through your animation, so I was like, okay, push the thing to the next
Not
level,
that specific one. Although I was I did do some funny stuff. Although my favorite bit is the flicking tail. Right?
Yeah.
Did you see the flicking tail? And that's done with. You were going to ask how they did that. You're like, is that CG? Is that some type? No, it's a guy with a string. He's got fishing line, and he's just going like this.
That's when I saw that, I was like, wow, is there any animatronic or something like super complicated behind this? But fishing it's line. Really the little touch that push it further. That I had a good laugh, when you see someone in this position, in this disguise, I was like, okay, I need to add this to the interview. And
right. Well, thank you very much.
I'm sorry you won't be able to
followers.
remove this. Okay, that's cool. So I'd like to talk a bit about your freelancer experience, where you started. So you explained us that you started with some gigs you did for your brother. But I've seen in your Vimeo or thing like that, some little commercial you did. So can you tell us when and how you start working as a freelancer and for what kind of project?
I think it was through Fuzz. I think was my first real jobs. And at the time, I think it was 2009, 2010, Nathan Dillo, who runs that company, that's just another one-man studio who he actually is an animator for Disney now, but he also still runs his own studio where he hires the people, and we've got a crew and we work on the projects. So back in 2010, he was working on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, the 1.5 billion view one, and he's like, he just found me online, because back then there was less Blender users than there are now, which I think is a great thing. I think it's a great thing for Blender, but it was a lot easier to find people. And I had some rigging stuff online, and I had some, some animation things that I was just testing. And he just saw it and was like, I need someone to rig some characters, some stick figures for a TV commercial. Are you available? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I rigged up. It's not on my reel, and he doesn't like it on his reel because it's so old and so crappy. But you might not have them in Europe, but the family first stickers, are they family first? They're the stick figures that you put on the back of your car, and there's like they're My Family. That's what they're called, My Family stickers. And there's different ones that you can get, like stick figures with my muscle man. There's one with a fishing rod or whatever. So he gave me like 30 of those because the client didn't know which ones they were going to use, and he's like, can you rig these up? I'm like, yeah, cool. So they were just curves, and I just did these stick figure rigs, and I did a little bit of an animation test, like here's what they can do, just using IK, be careful of this, just in a video tutorial thing, just saying what I did. And he's like, man, this animation that you've done is really good, do you want to animate it? And I'm like, yes. So that's the first thing that I animated with him. And then I've just been animating on every project since and doing the rigging on the projects. So that's all the kids stuff. So all the donkeys, all the owl, the star, the rabbits and the bears, all those ones.
Okay, so is that a part of what's now Fuse Studio, or is that another customer or another partner?
That's Fuzz Studios, and he mainly does stuff for Super Simple Songs, which is a YouTube channel, and they've got lots of people who make stuff for them. But we make those the content with those characters, and there's more coming down the pipe. So we've got, I think, another 6 episodes to do. They call them episodes, but they're different songs. So we've done Starlight, Starbright recently. We did the Rainbow song, which we finished it and a couple of months ago, but it hasn't come out yet. So it must be in the new year when it's coming out.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, that's his stuff. So I just work as a freelancer for him, and then I occasionally, although I don't like getting my own jobs, where I'm the project manager. So people come to me and they say, hey, we're doing, I think I sent you some of the pistachio nuts thing where they're talking and jumping.
Yeah.
So that was another case of where that's an ad agency in Adelaide, which is in Australia. And they just found my work, and he's like, oh, you've done a couple of commercials, you want to do these? And that's me going, yep, what's the job? And project managing. So I need to hire this person, hire this person, and then I'll animate and deliver the product. And that is what Moonstring is. It's basically, just a one-man studio. So I am Moonstring, but I'm just a freelancer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do the same. I mean, the P2design studio stuff is just a simple desk,
But you do everything, man. Like you can model, you can draw, you can animate, you can rig, you can do all those things. I used to be able to do all those things really, really poorly back when I was a generalist, and now I just focus on the animation and the rigging. And I really I find the project managing, like hiring the people and running the project, it's really difficult. Like when you're not the boss, you want to be the boss, and then when you are the boss, you're like, I just want to be the lackey who animates, and you don't have to worry about anything else. You're like, I just need to make this character giggle. There you go. Like, that's the easy part.
Definitely get it. When you have some responsibilities or you're managing stuff, that's pretty exciting because you can share what you're doing, you can find new talent, and that's pretty inspiring. But when they start the production, you definitely want to have your hands on and to be a part of it, because I guess this is what you like to do. And that's the same for me, and sometimes it's super frustrating when you manage people and the day is gone and you haven't pushed a keyframe all day long, and that's I totally get it.
The one really good thing that I find from being a project manager and hiring people is I really like paying people, but getting work for other artists, if you know what I mean. Like that's a really it's a good feeling to be able to be like, hey, something that I did provided money for someone else's family, for them to have dinner. Like I like that part about it.
In the end, that's a great feeling, So that's cool. Okay.
Well, that's definitely one thing that I like about CGcookie, because my main role there is the animation instructor. So anyone who takes, actually a lot of people don't know this, but everyone who takes the animation courses that I've done there, I actually physically review every single submission. And that means if some people do the same exercise 50 times, I review it 50 times, because I mean, it's not in my, I've made that my job there. Actually, they weren't paying me at the start, and then they're like, oh, we're going to pay you to do this because it adds so much value to the company. But when the students have that aha moment and they figure it out, it makes it worth it. You're like, yes, it reminds me of when I learned that thing and that light bulb went off on the top of my head and how excited I was. And you kind of live vicariously through the students who have that moment. And you're like, you kind of get a little piece of it back.
So we are going to speak about CGcookie just after, but I totally relate to this when I do training, whether for company or that, when people, you feel like they, as you say, they have this moment where they do understand what they are doing and they should be able to replicate it, and they get a huge satisfaction about it, because that's, it's painful to learn, but each time you make a new step, that's super satisfying. That's really a good feeling also for the instructor, for sure. That's cool. Okay, so I just wanted to, because you've been doing freelancing almost for your whole career. Even when you started at CGcookie, it was like as somehow a freelancer, creating content here and there. So what is the most important thing for you to succeed as a freelancer? Do you have any advice or pitfall that people should avoid?
Well, I think learn pricing is a good one. This is one thing that I still struggle with. You've got to charge the right amount, because, as I said, if you're the project manager and you set a budget for, the project is going to cost this much money, and that's how much money that you've got, and it costs more than that, it comes out of your pocket, so I would learn costing, and also value your own work. Don't try and race to the bottom. So when I started, I tried to join those, not Fiverr.com, but freelance job sites where everyone, hey, I've got a job. And the funny thing was, people were using my work as an example of they'd have the little snowflake video that I created and animated for Fuzz. And they're like, hey, I want to create a video that is like this. Contact me if you want to work on it. And it's like, why, hello, that example was made by me. This is but it turns out they want to make this thing for $300, and you're like, I don't think you realize how long that took. And so it's a race to the bottom. Everyone's like, I'll work for $6 an hour, I'll work for $3 an hour. Don't even bother with that stuff. Value your time as an artist, set your rate, and then push it up every now and then. So that would be my advice. But also get as much experience as you can, because you do need to learn by making the mistakes, if that makes sense. Make the mistake once and learn, and don't make it again. But I've been very lucky in my career because of the multifaceted things that I've done, like stand up and acting and all those other things. I've always had multiple sources of income, and I found that if I wasn't earning a lot from animation, all of a sudden I'd get a whole bunch of TV commercials, or they'd roll something over, or I was in a series of TV commercials, and you're like, oh wow, this is actually quite a decent amount of money, and then vice versa, I won't be getting any TV commercials, and then all of a sudden I'll get more animation work. So it's just the way that the universe has worked. All of those things are kind of ebbed and flowed to kind of keep me at a stable level of income. If I was just chasing the freelance work, I wouldn't follow my own. I'm not the best person to give advice on that, because I've only been I haven't been chasing it wholeheartedly my whole career, if you know what I mean. If something came along that was kind of good, I'd be like, I'll do that. But I wasn't out there trying to chase it and get the work and get clients and repeat work and stuff like that. Stuff just came to me, and then I'd say yes, and then those same people would come back. But I don't know if any of that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a good point, because I do believe or feel like when you see, a junior freelancer, there seems to be seeking for the next contract, and they are really, striving toward that and feels insecure. And that's totally true. And what you are saying here is that there are different ways to start a freelance career, and it can be a balance. And when you get a new gig, you will learn new stuff, and you start to build your career path. I think that's very important. For me, the only advice I give to every student I get is I would avoid trying to start your career as a freelancer, because when you join a company, you will get experienced, and you may start to learn about those financial stuff that you
Yep.
might not be aware of when you are a student and you get into the industry or on the job market. You don't know what charges and taxes are, and so you would say, hey, if I make like $100 per day, that's a lot of money when you're a student, but when you're a company, that's just the beginning of the end. So so that's a good thing. I did also switch from having a regular job to my freelance career. So it's not like you get your first contract, you embrace freelancing, full time, and then if 1 month later you don't have any contract, you're done. That's interesting to see that. Also, we all have different paths, and there is no, there is no the golden path you have to choose. And if you don't go through this road, that's gonna be a bumpy one. No, you can have any different thing. The thing is about experience. And when you talk about mistake, I think taking somehow some project you might not be able to do, I feel like that's it could be a good take, because you will learn a lot. You will suffer, but you will learn a lot, and next time you won't do those mistakes. I just would like to ask you if you could explain us a bit how you work with a studio on those animation songs, because they are very popular in terms of views, etc. And are you first the only animator? Do you participate in the scripting of the video, in the character design? What's your role, and what's the pipeline?
So the pipeline, Fuzz will get an animatic done by the company with the song. So the song is done, and then they've got an animatic, and it's drawn very crudely, like it's just here is the star, here is the rabbit, they're doing a little dance or whatever. Now Fuzz will take that, and they'll go, I think we can make it better. So he will give it to his art director, whose name is Art. I think that's really funny. Arthur is his full name, but his name is Art. He's really good at drawing. They will tweak the animatic and pitch it back to them, and they go, here is our. It's also for two things. It's one, to make it a little bit nicer, to plus the idea, and to two, make it a little bit easier, because there might be something in there that is like the characters would be really difficult to do for them to do that, or cut it up into more shots to make it easily manageable. You just make it smarter. And then he will give the character those storyboards. If the characters need to be designed, he will give them to a modeler. Now, at the moment, he is using Kent Trammell from CGcookie also. Okay. And so he does the modeling, they get approved, and then I do the rigging. So I rig them up, and we make a move and stuff like that. Now with the animators, we've got 3 animators at the moment. I'm one of them. We've got Mac DeBow, who is a feature animator, and we've got Brian Rasco, who's also he's worked at Real Effects, Blue Sky. I think they all met at Blue Sky, and he's just hired them as freelance. So everyone works remotely. So I'm in Australia, they're in different parts of the US. The client is also in the US. They used to be in Japan, but now they've moved back to the US. And then we animate. So it's broken up into the shots, and each animator will get a specific number of shots, depending on workload. So in this next project that we've got coming up, there's going to be quite a lot of new characters. And when that happens, most of my time will go to rigging those characters, and then and once they're rigged, they get palmed off. Okay, this shot's ready. Go. You can animate now. And I might get a few shots at the end of the project. So it's whatever is more important. So rigging is more important. So I'll have more of that to do. But if we're doing, we did a remake of Twinkle Twinkle, where they changed the character design. You did also mention that you wanted to talk about the character design, so remind me again after I stop yabbering. So we remade it and because the characters were already designed and built, and they just had a few edits to make. Like it was a lot of animation on that one, which was actually fun to do a shot-for-shot remake of something with better lighting, better rendering, and the characters are slightly tweaked, which is weird. It's never happened before where the client wants to make exactly the same video that they've already made and paid good money for.
It's like somehow a remaster that it's becoming something very common in the gaming industry, you know, because when you have a good game design, what makes the game hold are the graphics and the animation. So if you remaster that and keep the game design, that will be another success for sure. So one thing maybe people that doesn't know is that, so you told us that they would give you one shot, for example. So when you do one shot, you animate all the characters in this shot, right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that might not be the case if it was a bigger project, like a feature project. You might just get the foreground characters, like the main characters, and then someone else might do the background characters. But in these ones, they're all actually, some of them have had quite a lot of characters in them, like 8 characters in a shot, but they're not doing a lot. They're all just staring at the baby Jesus or something like that. So they're all just blinking and a little bit of keep alive. It's really hard to keep a donkey alive, you know. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, you do animate when you're given a shot. You animate all the things in there. There might be a few things where I'm trying to think. We did have a shot. Oh, it's a project that's not released yet.
Okay, no, don't worry.
So I'm not. Isn't it funny that you're not allowed to talk about? It's going to be out like in 2 weeks or something like that.
No, if you
don't want to step on anyone's toes.
It's not officially released. I do believe it's better not to talk about it. You know, even if the interview might be published later on. So
yeah.
What I wanted just to point out is that I myself have discovered that I thought that there was like one animator per character, in a shot. And you do this character, you do the hero, and this guy will do his girlfriend or whatever. And because at the time I was starting learning animation, it does make sense for me. The super animator of the company will be animating the main character, but it's not the case. You get shots, and generally you do the specific part of the shot. So if the character are really separated, you will do maybe, as you say, the foreground character, and then you will have someone animating the crowd or organizing the animation of the crowd, depending on how it works. Okay, and so are you involved in the character design? I mean, do you do some kind of art direction or give your
No, not for the fuzz stuff. That's done with the client and Nathan, and the art director, Art Vogt is his name. So they will have a sketch of, say, I can talk about the raccoon. Yeah, the raccoon's been released. So there's a mama raccoon and a baby raccoon, and so they have a rough sketch, and then he will do a whole bunch of designs, and then they go, oh, we like that one, and then it get modeled, and then back and forth with the client. They'll go, oh, make it look less furry on the cuffs, or more furry on the cuffs, or the baby looks, give it a bigger head, or so there's those tweaks. So Fuzz actually has a lot of say over how the character will look, mainly because of the relationship that he's had with them for the past 10 or 12 years. We do good work, so they trust him, so it's like, oh man,
I get
if we did this to the shape of the star's mouth, it would be a better design than this one. And they go, yep, cool, no worries. But then sometimes they come back and they want something different. They're like, oh, that idea that was really good. No, we want this one. We want the one that's bad. Give us the one that's bad.
Okay, yeah, I get. But that's cool that they trust you. They trust your work already. That's a big step, because when you have clients that think they betterly know your work than they do sometimes, or that they don't understand our job, because a lot of people think that we are like doing some drawing and that's it, you know. That's sometimes a bit hard to value your work toward the client. So that's already cool. You have this relationship, and the client is the king in the end, you know. If they want the other ID, then you'll do it. So
well, that's talking more about that point, like working for Fuzz, because I have worked with Nathan for over a decade now. We do have a level of trust, and he knows my work. So often when we get the shot, there's none of those moments in there that you'll see in the final thing. It'll be just the mechanics of, okay, the character. For example, in the bears, I'm not sure if you're going to show the bears, the Sweet Dreams, where the bear, it opens on the cave, it's all blurry, and then it comes in, and it's the first moment when you see the baby bear. And in the storyboard, it's just the bear entering in, right? And Nathan gives me that shot, and it's like, he doesn't give me much direction other than the emotional state of the character, which is, it's a bear, really excited, he wants to go to sleep, but is excited, you know? So that's where acting comes in, you know, like, oh, okay, I remember that feeling. So it's my job as the animator to create that. So that doesn't exist in the storyboards or whatever. You're like, how does that happen? And you're like, well, the character will just jump on and bound in and be like, wow, look back, Mum, did you see me? Did you see me? And that's kind of the emotional beat that I was going for. And it worked, because now, like 10 years later or however many years later, those moments, like when that bear comes on the screen and I'm sitting there watching it with Elliot, who's nearly 2, he sees it and he goes, bear, bear. He gets really, really excited because of the entrance that it makes. And that's, you're like, that's a good thing, you know, like I created that out of a storyboard, which was just bear entering, you know?
Yeah, that's cool. You point this out, because I was going to ask if your kid has already watched your work, you know, and that's a bit of a specific niche, you know, of animation, doing those kids songs, but as a new daddy in a way, you know, that must be like super.
It's super satisfying.
That's a great, to share it with your kid and see him excited.
Because when I was making them all these years ago, I was trying to imagine that as I'm doing it. You're like, how do I get that response? And now it's actually happening to me. You're like, oh, this is great. So another example is a few shots after that, the entrance, the mama bear looks at the baby bear and they do noses, right? They go like that, rub noses together. Now that shot was just the mum looking at the bear and smiling. And I said to Nathan, I said, I've got an idea for that. And I did this. And he's like, it's great. And they loved it. And that's, you know, like that's an iconic moment. And Elliot, actually, I do that with Elliot all the time. And he loves it. He goes, noses. Like before he'd seen that. And when he sees it, he's like, noses. So there's so cool. I was trying to imagine those moments, and now they're happening. And it is really great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And and the other thing that I think of is that we can see a lot when I watch a lot of stuff from Aaron Blaise or Glenn Keane, you know, that's super inspirational, and you hear a lot of animators saying you have to give emotion to the audience to connect, and at some point it was kind of a bit abstract to me, you know. But this is the kind of moment that you're sharing something with your kid and you get excited, and this is what it means, you know, when you're giving the audience an emotional moment. So that must be, I mean, that must be something very special to have done it, and now to share it with a member of your family, and especially your kid, you know, that must be something really unique in a way. So I'm super happy for you.
So we actually have watched quite a lot of YouTube kid stuff, Elliot and I, and there's a varying level of quality. Like there's so much terrible kids animation on YouTube, but I'm really happy that he loves, like I didn't tell him that it was mine, like Little Snowflake, all these ones that I've created, he loves. And he's like, he'll come up to me and he'll go Blake, go Blake. He wants to watch Little Snowflake. Go Blake. And actually he thinks my job is I sit here at my desk all day and watch the bears because I've been animating the bears. And he's like, bears. So he always wants to come in and watch and play.
That's cool. I think I will give him an interview like in 20 years and so that he can express that, yeah, my father works, the timing was better and the acting was better, definitely.
Yeah.
Because for the time being, it's a bit of a blah, blah, blah. But I think he wants to say, your spacing is better.
Yeah.
Look at the arcs. Wow, that's...
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. So I'd like to switch to the CGcookie part of your work because this is where I've started to know you. I've started learning 3D and CG with CGcookie. I've started learning Blender in August 2012. And in
I thought you were 2020. So
no, yeah,
like
10 minutes
you're pretty
ago.
good, man.
I learn fast. Everybody told me that I learn fast. No, but like within a month, I switched to CGcookie and I stick to CGcookie for 3 or 4 years. You know, so and I'm still following all the work from CGcookie. So I'm really glad they get you, and this is where I get to know you at first. So can you just give us a bit of explanation about what CGcookie is for the people who doesn't know it?
Sure. Well, CGcookie is an online learning platform for all things Blender. So it's subscription based. So you pay your monthly fee and then you get access to all the content that is there. And my specific role on there is I take care of the animation stuff, and there's some rigging stuff, and we're working on some rigging stuff at the moment, which will come out next year. I am allowed to talk about this in case you're wondering. Oh, it's not released yet. No, I have permission to say what's up and coming. But like you're saying, like I was a self-taught dude, and I admired CGcookie. You're like, oh, they do some good stuff. And then I think I just like, I'm just going to pay to see what it's like to get behind that paywall and see. And the first course that I watched was Kent Trammell's. It was either the Pierrick course, where he rigged the bird, he animated it, he did this like whoa, like unbelievable stuff, or it was the Pancake Hobo, and the quality of his teaching. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And are we allowed to swear like on this?
Yeah, go on.
It kicks the shit out of the YouTube stuff. Like you see stuff on YouTube, people don't know what they're doing. And actually some people are quite good, but you got to find those things, and you don't know when you're learning a bad mistake, which gets perpetuated throughout the community. But it's just a shame that it's behind the paywall, because once I was in, I was like, oh my God, this Kent Trammell guy is bloody amazing. And I actually switched over. They used to have a lifetime membership, which was about the cost of 1 or 2 years. And I was like, these people are crazy. So like in my first month, I was like, I'm switching over to the lifetime membership. Thank you. Just because I was already a professional, but if there was something that I needed to learn, or if I wanted to upskill, I knew that I would have access to it. And I was going to treat it like a, what's the correct term? Like a just-in-time learning. So I wasn't going to, I'm going to sit here and learn everything, because then you spend your whole days doing tutorials and not doing any actual real work or earning any money. I was like, if there's that one job that comes up and I need to learn about particles or whatever, I know I have access to high-quality tuition that's going to be teaching me the right way, right? And that's the way I treated it. And then, like you, a few years ago, I was like, I'm going to make my own content for YouTube. I'm going to be a YouTuber, right? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make free videos about animation in Blender, right? And then I set about making a video, and it took me about 50 or 60 hours to make the first video. And I was like, oh wow, this is like much harder than I thought. And I was like, oh no, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build my audience up. And CGcookie put out the call for, we want to hire an animation person to teach animation. And I was like, what? This is amazing. Because I just finished that video and I was like, here is the video. And I finished it. And they were like, this is brilliant. Great. Jump on board. So now I'm part of the team. That was where we were talking about earlier about making the choices and the paths to go. I had the choice of like, do I go solo and build my own following on YouTube and do all the hard work myself? I'm starting from scratch. This is going to be really, really difficult. Or do I go with a company who they take care of all that, and then I just produce the content for them. And by the time that content, I only get paid for that one time rather than, passive income and all of the, releasing as a course and getting that in, versus by the time that's outdated, I'll make a new one. Do you know what I mean? So it was tossing up the crossroads, and then I decided, like, I think it's better. I can reach. Ultimately, my goal was to help as many people as possible, and I saw that being CGcookie way to go. So anyone who goes to CGcookie, I have their reach. Like they have, 250,000 followers and all that. So I have access to all of them. Anyone who wants to learn animation from them can come along, and I'll take them on a journey rather than me taking them from scratch like you've done. I've got so much respect for how hard you've worked and how you've built your career and your standing in the community. Like, I can't do it. I gave up. I took the easy road.
I don't know if it's the easy road, you just choose the path you want, but that's cool that you point out the Pierrick course, because this is the most influential course in my whole life. This is one of the courses I've taken, like after 4 months, I think on CGcookie, and at this time it was such a huge course. I mean, you create a character from scratch. There was also the concept part in another course that is available on the CGcookie platform, so they were like really covering the whole thing. And I just want to add something, is that I'm not nor endorsed nor sponsored by CGcookie, but clearly Ken Trammell, Jonathan Lemple and Jonathan Williamson are the best mentor or tutorial creator, whether for Blender or anything. I think that Ken Trammell he goes such in depth in everything, and he explains everything he does, and he explains it very well. And when you say people that carry the same mistakes along on YouTube, because on YouTube you want to make short videos about one thing, and often a lazy way to do things, but just to have the haha, that's beautiful, but that's not whether industry ready or whether production ready or the right way to do it. You're not learning the right way to do it. And I do believe that at CGcookie, I mean, most of the latest courses are more beginner oriented, but I will buy them anyway and watch them. And because there are always those little things that you learn, or even for me as a content creator, that's super inspiring, and I hope to reach the quality level of Kent one day, in the way he explains stuff and he illustrates stuff. So when you were talking about the paying wall, I personally think that CGcookie is pretty cheap compared to the different.
Definitely.
That's. I mean, money is something that unfortunately all people don't have the same money, but the quality of the content for the value is really one of the best on the market. So I do push people to join the CGcookie if they can, and at least to be curious about it. And also there is the Blender market that was developed by members of the CGcookie, and you can find some of the courses from CGcookie on the Blender market if you want to give a one shot to one of the courses. So I think that can be a good starting point for people to discover CGcookie. So you being there, I guess you must be not that bad at doing tutorials.
Well, I'm glad you said some kind things when we were trying to organize this. I was like, Pierrick, you know I'm a nobody, right? I'm just a dude that works at CGcookie, and I've done some kids animation, and you've got plans to talk to some really big wigs in the industry, and you said some really kind things about CGcookie and the animation courses that I've done for them, and it made me feel good. I was like, all right, cool. I will have a chat.
No,
to
but you're not a Mr. Nobody, you know. You might not be the most famous artist in the world, but you're very influential because you're teaching the generation of artists, you know, and you're a very good animator and a very good instructor. And that's something I've pointed out in another interview, that being there are a lot of talented people that are really bad at teaching, you know. So, I mean, we will say that you're a humble person mostly than a nobody person, because for me you're not a nobody. You helped me a lot already, you know, on a lot of stuff, and I feel like we might have some further project together maybe, so you're not a nobody, you know.
I'm in, dude. I'm in.
That's cool. So you just answered my second question, is how did you join CGcookie, but
That's how I do it.
there is a why. Why do you teach animation, and why do you do it? I mean, through CGcookie, that's kind of obvious. That's a good platform, but why do you teach animation?
Well, the reason I teach animation, I'm trying to fill the role of I guess it's getting back to acting and stuff like that. I'm imagining myself as a student when I was learning on the internet and you know, from books and stuff like that. And I've got it here. You know, books. Everyone has books. You learn this, you know.
Yeah. I have it.
There's issues with some of the walk cycles, but anyway, I won't talk about that. I'm trying to be the person that I wish existed when I was learning animation online. So when I'm teaching a course and when I'm going through it, it's like I'm trying to put in my state of mind and all the mistakes that I make that I didn't know that I was making, to give as many of those light bulb moments of like, aha. I'll give you an example. Like, I studied animation for years, and I read this book, and I did all the exercises, and I did all those things. And then I tried to get into animation school. I went to iAnimate back when they first started. I was one of their first, in the first course. And I thought I was so good. I was like, oh yeah, I know about timing and spacing. Yeah, whatever. I want to go straight into the acting courses, you know, like I want to learn how to do lip sync and make characters emote and do those things. And I showed my work, and Jason Ryan, who reviewed everyone's things, like, actually, you belong in class 1. You belong in workshop 1. You need to learn about timing and spacing. And I was like, what do you know? I've been learning for years. Like, I know about that stuff. I know. But he was right. Like, I could have taken that moment to go, hey, fuck you, you're wrong. You don't know anything. But I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. And he says I belong at the start because I'm missing some key foundational things. And I went and I did the first class, and it opened my eyes. I was like, oh my God, I did not know about timing and spacing. And it was because no one who was of a higher level than I was pointing out these mistakes. You didn't have any feedback, right? Like, that's the thing, you need feedback. So as soon as that happened, as soon as my instructor drew over my work and said, here is the spacing issue. If you put your bouncing ball here on this frame, it will look so much better. And you're like, oh, like, stretch this frame, squash this one. Oh my God, boom, all these light bulb moments went off. So now when I'm at CGcookie, that's exactly the same thing that I'm trying to do for all the students, is they submit their work and they get feedback. It's like they're making the same mistakes that I did when I was learning. And I'm just trying to be that person that's going to, like, put my arm around them and go, hey buddy, have a look at frame 7. Like, are you sure you want to squash there, or do you want to stretch? Oh, I think I should stretch. Aha, doesn't your work look better? So that's what I'm trying to be, that person that I wish existed when I was learning online by myself.
That's a very good reason, for sure. That's cool. I feel kind of, I think it's the same in a way, you know. It's very satisfying when you get those moments and you feel like you're bringing luck and you're sharing your passion also I do feel that that's sometimes kind of not boring, but sometimes when you're reviewing like very beginners work, sometimes it's a bit okay. Let's get from the beginning, but when you see them evolve, that's also something that is really, or when you kind of ignite the potential of someone, that's super satisfying, you know, because they will succeed and you give them a chance, and that's super interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I do. I feel the monotony of reviewing the bouncing balls, right? Reviewing the bouncing balls, and everyone's making the same mistakes, and I feel like I'm typing the same thing or doing a video critique about the same thing. But then I often just remember, like, you have to make these mistakes, and they have to be pointed out to you before you can learn and have those things ignited. And there's one thing, like earlier you mentioned, you asked me, do you have any favorite animators? And I'm going to answer that now. I'm going to say I have a favorite animation instructor by the name of Ted T. He was my workshop 7 instructor at iAnimate. And he, in our first class, I think it was a brilliant way, and this is the same approach that I take with all of my students. He said, most people, if you have an instructor or a mentor or whatever, they will say to you, or it's like, you need to prove yourself to me first before I need to know that you're worthy of my full 100%. And if that makes sense, I'm totally butchering it.
Don't worry.
But he goes, I don't work like that. I will expect you I will give you 100% from the outset. I will expect 100% from you, and I will give you 100% until you prove me wrong. So that is my default position. I'm going to believe in you 100%. And that's the way that I treat my students, is like, I'm not going to wait for them to prove whether they're enthusiastic to me before I give them a proper critique or whatever. I'm going to assume that they're here doing my course because they're super inspired, and I'm going to give them 100%. So they're going to get 100% of me until they prove me wrong, which has happened a couple of times with few students who have okay, you don't deserve it. But a lot of the time, people will be happy with it, and they're like, I did not expect this from CGcookie, because you're often, when you do work online, you're working by yourself and you're doing your own, and you're not showing anyone. But it's all of a sudden you show this animation and you get feedback and you get improvement. Like, it's an enjoyable thing.
Yeah, that's a very important point, and I think beyond the student and mentor relationship, that also something that apply to managing people in a company. You know, if you hire them for a talent, they have to prove themselves for sure, but you have to give them the right tool so that if they fail, you can point out where they have failed, and you learn so much from this. I mean, when you say everybody needs to make those mistakes on the bouncing ball, and you need to point it out, that's very true, because often you watch a video where they explain you the shape of the curve you should have to make your bouncing ball, behave the right way. But the fact that it's your work, someone pointed out, it will resonate. And then you have to when someone more experienced show you a respect and show you that he's willing to help, that's also something that really pulls you up, that really motivates you to do your best. And as a student too, when I did the iAnimate class, I did wanted my instructor to be proud, to be like, and that was it put you a good pressure, So there is someone you respect, or someone that is, is way better than you, and you want to reach his level at some point in your life, So you have to listen to him. And so what you tell for the students that were a bit disappointing, I think it's a question of mindset and a question of investment. They need also to understand that they are here to learn, and you're the guy in charge of this, so they have to be open-minded, because sometimes when you spend a lot of energy onto an animation, it's hard to get critique, and I'm often super protective about my animation because it's a lot of time. That's a very tiring process. I think animation takes a lot of energy because it needs a lot of focus, and sometimes you're like, oh, what a pain to have to rework something. But yeah, you have to listen to your mentor, and that's cool that you do it 100%. So I'd like to switch more to the everyday life of Wayne Dixon, you know. So, do you go to the toilet?
I don't. I'm one of those weird people who I don't. No.
Okay, no, that's cool.
Because I do.
No, I would like to know if you have a daily routine, you know, to keep on doing all what you do, keep yourself sane, keep yourself
I used to.
wealthy.
Things have changed a lot since having a kid, but I used to. I did used to have a morning routine. I used to do meditation, drawing, maths, and then learning Italian, not in any specific order, but I used to do a little bit of that for your brain. Like, it helps. The better you are at learning, the better you are at learning. Like, learning is a skill. So I try to keep my mind sharp. Maths is a two-pronged approach, because when you're doing rigging stuff, understanding matrices and linear algebra and stuff like that is really helpful when you're doing super complicated things. And I'm not there yet. I've done a few complicated things with Python and whatever, and some vector things, figuring stuff out. Yeah. But I know if my level of maths was higher, I'd be able to do a lot more. So that's why I've been working on my maths all the time, to try and improve, to slowly understand it and get smarter. Learning language to help broaden your mind and make you, just opens your mind. I think it's good. So I've been learning Italian for 4 years, nearly every day. It's changed since moving house. So we moved to house about 2 months ago, and having a kid and trying to do all that. I haven't done any of my morning routine stuff since moving. So I had like 4 or 5 years of doing it every day, and now it's just like, whatever. Right. Oh, and drawing helps for two things. It helps for animation to it helps for many areas of art. Yeah. One, not that I ever wanted, I just did gesture drawings and stuff like that to try and it helps with posing, posing the character, and you can see the pose better, and also helps with your creativity and just being able to communicate ideas, because someone will say, oh, hey, do you mean that? And if you can draw it, it helps. I'm not at that level where I can show a drawing to someone else and they can understand it. But when I do like the gesture drawings, you go, okay, I can see that gesture.
Yeah.
As I said, it's all gone to shit.
I totally agree with you. I've returned to drawing this year to try to have this routine, because I feel like when you're drawing, you're getting really focused on the shapes and form, and I think that's beyond the fact that you need to learn anatomy and stuff like that. There are a lot of principles in animation, like silhouette and appealing shapes, line of action, and when you draw, I feel like you really get this sense without knowing it. You don't, but you when you make a cool drawing, it's because at some point you touch those things. And even if you just do gesture drawing, there are gesture drawing that are just awesome, like 5 lines and you get something, and I'm really trying to get this at some point. And I think it's very important, because when you draw over, for example, for an animation review, whether it's for someone else or for yourself, so even a very beginner animator should draw onto his animation to feel the thing. That's great to have those, I think, those things. And I feel, because, on the 12 principle of animation, nowadays, a lot of people think that, but we are not doing hand-drawn animation anymore. Most of the animation is CG. But I'm convinced that someone that draws well, know how to draw, and I've trained drawing a lot, will be at some point a better artist, because you will have that give you very solid foundation, whether it's for character design, composition, motion, etc. So yeah, that's that you will have to go back into your routine, man. When your kids learn to sleep, you will have to.
When he learns to sleep, I don't know whether you heard, but he's just woke up.
Yeah. Okay, I will try to go ahead and do it fast. So in the sub question, I have what do you eat in the morning? How do you manage kids, family, and stuff? So you don't manage it. You're like
I don't manage, but I do eat the same breakfast every day. So whenever he wakes us up, I get him up. We get him dressed. We cook porridge, and that's what I have and what he has. And we, while it's cooling down for him because it's too hot, I unpack the dishwasher, which he tries to help. Basically, I just have to take the knives and put them away, and he just hands me stuff, or he'll put stuff where it shouldn't be. Once he's had breakfast, I clean him up, and we go to the coffee shop, and he carries the coffees, and he puts them down, and we get 2 coffees, one for mum, one for dad, and we bring him back, and then we give coffee to mum, who's still in bed, mind you. We're called the barista boys. So she's a pretty lucky lady.
Yeah, that's cool. Great. Just do you have any advice for wannabe animators? I mean, something, any motivational speech or advice, to any wannabe animator?
I would say do whatever you can to feed that passion, and learn as much as you can when you're a student. Now that sounds retarded. I know, learn when you're a student. Learn as much as you can when you're younger, when you have time, because as you get older, life gets thrown at you. There's more responsibilities. There's more this. I'm planning to go back to school next year to learn more about games animation at iAnimate, and we're working on some stuff together, some rigs to be able to do that. Are we allowed to say that? I just said it. Who cares?
No problem. Yeah,
on the road. But it's to do that now when I have responsibilities. It's much more difficult than, and I can't go in January. I have to. It's like I'm not ready. I have to wait till the next one or whatever. But when I was first learning at animation school, I was spending so much time on my. It's because I was a comedian, right? I just worked nights, and then all day I was spending learning animation. So if you could do that as much as you can, learn and work as hard as you can whilst you're a student, because as time progresses, the amount of available time you have to learn shrinks. So pack it in and I don't want to say do so much that you're going to get burnout, but do anything that you can, do as much as you can, as long as it doesn't diminish your appreciation and your enthusiasm for what you want to learn.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's the one of the hard lesson of life, is that you become conscious of this, of the price of time, the less you have it, and there is always, I think you probably add this thought at some point, is that I wish I did this earlier, I wish I knew this earlier. So that's a very important point. So passion first, and then learn as much as you can, and that's good advice. Do you have specific expectation for next year, aside from the COVID vaccine, in your personal life, in your professional life?
Yeah, in my professional life, I want to do more learning. So 2020, I think everyone can agree, it has been a very weird year. And I've learned this is a phenomenon. I've been having a lot of nostalgia for things, for previous moments in my life, like being an animation student. And I was I've been wondering what it is, and I found out it's happening to a lot of people during COVID. It's nostalgia is coming up. So I'm trying to, and I have actually started trying to get my animation mojo back, where I've been led on this path slowly and surely away from doing things that I don't 100% want to do, and then I'm getting further and further away from where I wanted to go. So in 2021, I'm trying to bring myself back, and I've already started by doing some animation tests just for me, for fun. I'm spending one night a week, not doing any work related thing. It's just animation for fun. So I've done some walk cycles. I'm just pretending that I'm a student again, to try and practice my art, do more of the things that I want to do without any of the pressure of like clients and money and stuff like that. I've actually turned some jobs down so that I have more time to be able to bring myself back on course, if that makes sense. So 2021, I want to learn more about games, and I want to get I want to do some more acting shots, not for just for my reel, because I haven't been able to update my reel for a while because of all the jobs that I've had. They're not reel worthy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've done some pretty horrible animation because it's the budget's been low and it's been really quick. Like, I think I did that the Adelaide Airport thing. Did I send that one to you where the guy's talking?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not bad. It's not great. Would I put that on my reel? Definitely not, because it's ugly. They didn't have enough money, and So I'm trying to bring myself on track and just do the things that bring me joy. So I'm working on an acting shot at the moment. I'm having lots of fun doing it, and
this relates to what we have said just before. You're trying to go back to the passion, to reignite the passion.
Trying to reignite that passion, get my mojo back, and just have fun doing it.
Okay, cool. That's great. I think, I was going to ask if there was any movie you were, or any games or any artistic piece you were looking forward to on next year. Something very specific, maybe?
Is Spider-Man 2 coming out next year, or is that the year after? Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse 2.
That would be awesome.
I'm really looking forward to that, but I think that is 2022.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I don't know, but I feel I think that like it will be only 1 or 2 years of production that will be like super short. So I think they have announced it this summer that they were working on the second one. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that we will have to wait like 2 or 3 years, I guess.
Damn. Well, anyway, that's the one that I'm most looking forward to. But yeah, I just look forward to a lot of things. Like, I try and watch a whole bunch of animations that come out, although I haven't been going to the cinemas for obvious reasons. So just streaming stuff. So Netflix. Netflix is good.
Yeah, cool. So this is the last thing, the end of the interview. Do you have anything you'd like to add to the people watching?
I would like to say, getting back to like the igniting the passion and getting the mojo back and working really hard. I think you can also not work too hard on the one thing. Like, there's other things that can bring you inspiration. So if you're an animator, it's not sitting down and animating all the time. It's going to watch animation and enjoy it and frame through stuff. Like, if you see a shot that is great, you're like, I wonder how they did that. Then just rip it however you like. You used to rip it from DVDs. I used to do that, and then just frame by frame it and draw over it, like physically draw it over. You can do that with grease pencil. Physically draw over it to learn what the spacing is doing. That's just a really good way of learning. So that is, watching fun animation is another way of fueling that thing. Playing games, if you like games, play games, do lots of fun things that fuel that inspiration for you. It's not just sitting down working hard and until your fingers bleed on the keyboard.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. So Wayne, I'd like to thank you so much for participating to this interview and I wish you really the best for the next year. and enjoy family time, you know, and
Thank you very
Christmas
much,
at
sir.
the time we are
Thank you very much.
recording the interview. So
And
thank
Merry
you so
Christmas
much,
to
man.
you. Yeah, although this is coming out after Christmas, so
Yeah.
I hope you had a good Christmas.
Yeah, we will try. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
No
See
worries.
you. Bye bye. This is the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one very, very soon. Bye bye.